Right now,
We're live.
we're live. Here we are. Good to be back in
Yeah.
the studio recording.
You thought we were done.
How's
We just keep coming back to you guys.
You thought we'd fallen off the face of the earth, and here we are again. So why have we been missing for the last months? What's been going on, Tobin? What's
Well, all kinds of stuff, and and yeah.
To name a few? I've moved house, and I've had an extra baby in the picture. So that's two
Right.
very big life changing things that's taken an enormous amount of energy and time, personally.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking today. First, I wanna tell you about a realization I had that changed a lot for me, and um, that I wanna share with people because maybe someone else might benefit for it as well. And afterwards, I was thinking we should talk about astrology and teachings, kind of like that.
I'm keen. I'm all on
Because I
board.
think
I'm
as
very much into astrology, spirituality kind of space. Right, right. Literally today is like very much deep into that. So that's very interesting that we're
awesome.
gonna dive into this. So, what's the you
I
said
want to
you've had
talk about
a revelation or something that you've kind of
yeah. I had a realization, which was that, like I told you, I think I've told you before. When I was younger, I felt at some point I kind of felt like I was addicted to other people for happiness. And so,
Mhm.
because I'm on the spiritual path, and the spiritual path is about finding happiness from within, I've always been kind of conflicted as like, am I addicted to people? Am I seeking people out because I'm missing something that I should be looking for in myself? And sometimes I even felt like I was like an empty person who went around with people with like my begging bowl and be like, "Hey, give me something, fill me up," you know.
Mm.
And so what that means is that for many years it's been a little ambivalent for me with people, because I love friendships, I love people. People are the thing I love the most, I think. But also I wanted to make sure I was making space to actually find myself also, because you can kind of disappear into people, at least when
Yeah.
you have an extroverted side. And that's, I guess that's part of the joy about people are kind of like alcohol, in that you forget yourself when you're with the right ones, right? And that's kind of the same with a good alcohol at the right time. It's gonna make you just forget yourself just at the right amount, where you become a little bit more spiritual and loose and happy, right?
Mm.
That's why they call it spirits. Or
And is that
so
is that part of like your story with like having these few years where you just kind of really went within and kind of didn't shut off, but like you consciously and purposefully um, spend time like going within and not seeing so many people. I think you said it was like in like 2 or 3 years or something in this.
it's probably more correct to say that for the last 10 years, I've felt a little bit guilty about spending too much time with people that I enjoyed
Mhm.
spending time with. And then as the years went by, it became more and more sort of extreme, where I would be more and more alone. I think I spent most of 22 alone, and half of 21 as well. And and I did learn a lot from that. But these days, when was sort of physically and spiritually and emotionally, more things are kind of clearing up and I'm seeing more clearly. And one thing I realized, which has been very important, is that um, I thought that I sort of needed people kind of like an addiction, or like because I wasn't happy in myself or whatever, or something like that. But I found out that because of how my brain works, and this is not the same for everyone, but the way my brain works is I actually charge energy up when I'm with people. And I'm not taking energy from those people, because I've noticed, like, for example, with you and me, that you and me can sometimes when we talk, we're both kind of tired, but then like 15 minutes in, we both have tons of energy and we're all charged up and we don't even know what to do with all that energy. So that's one of the things that helped me realize it, is that I don't take energy from people. I charge up when I'm with people, and I even give people energy while I'm charging up. So I've come to realize that, and I also realized that when I am with people and I get energy, I'm much better at sticking to my goals afterwards with spirituality and doing my practice. And because I have more energy, I'm much more likely to
Mm.
actually do the spiritual practices that I want to do. Whereas if I try to stay alone all the time without that source of energy, eventually my practices become fewer and they become lower quality, because I'm so mentally like on a low energy. So I've realized that, I'm not a beggar who is going around to other people with my cup and saying, please fill me up. I'm just someone who, for whatever reason, the way my psychology works, I regenerate energy when I'm with people. I charge up with people, and I also charge them up. Um, and so it's a win-win, and it's just the way that I create energy.
And that's
And there are
exactly the
people
reason. That's
huh?
exactly the reason we're going to bring to you guys some upcoming workshops and retreats in 2024, because we love being
Yeah,
in person and with people, and like you're saying, like you recharge, you give energy, you kind of, I think we both do that, and we would really just love
yeah,
to start doing some more real life stuff where we get to meet you guys and we get to kind of um, be together in this spiritual community or spiritual path, and raise each other's kind of
yeah.
consciousness and level, and that's where we're at right now. Yeah.
Yeah, because even if you were to learn nothing at all on a workshop like that, even if you had like even you have silent retreats, right? And there are, I mean, I don't think we're going to do silent retreats.
I
Maybe
was
there
going
will
to say
be
that's
times of
definitely not going
silence.
definitely not going to happen
No,
in
but
our retreat.
but like the thing, like I remember my ex-girlfriend, sometimes when we've been together a few days and she would leave, my energy would be so high that there would be certain bad habits that I would be like, I'm not going to do that today because I'm soaring on this kind of energy. And that's kind of what happens in groups, is that you elevate each other's energy. And if people are, it doesn't happen with everyone. So if it's not a it's not a it's not a criterion of whenever you get people together, they have to be people of a certain kind. But when you get those kind of people together, the energy just goes upwards in a crazy way, and everyone gets to be part of that energy, and no one loses any energy. Everyone gets more energy than they had when they entered. So the sum is greater than the parts, and that's magic. That's the definition of magic,
And
because
you know
somehow
the
there's
very
more
cool,
energy.
the very cool thing
Huh?
in retreats, or yeah, these kind of workshops. I don't know. Like, I've been to some of these like seminars and spiritual yeah, retreats or meditation courses and things like that. And the most magical thing I've experienced from those groups is when you get to a certain point in the retreat or a certain point in the meditation days, and people start to really wake up. Like some people in the group start to really get what get what the facilitator or the instructor is giving, and those, and it's like one after the other, like a domino effect. Like one person starts to like, wow, like start
Lighting
seeing
up.
again. Yeah, and then like literally like I remember being at one. This is actually the first kind of one of the first times I really awakened, you could say. And I was at this seminar, and I started looking around. I was like, wow, like these people are like literally glowing. Like I was looking, and it's like it was like a trickle effect, like a ripple effect out. It was like literally like one person after the other I could see in this room started to just kind of like, it was, I didn't know what like being awakened was at that time, but it sure did seem like these people were glowing and and just coming alive in themselves, and I was just like, wow. And for some reason I didn't receive that in that day, and it wasn't until like the day after that I got it, and I was just like, wow, I could see the world for the first time, kind of thing. But I really saw in that group the power of when you do come together and you are in this kind of raising consciousness kind of place, and receiving teachings, receiving um, like these kind of instructions, the power of a group and what that means. So yeah, that's what we would love to give you or share with you. You know, yeah. Like that would be actually a dream come true to be able to do that. Honestly, like, yeah. And as we're talking about this now, I'm just like, oh, I feel so like energetic about doing this. Yeah, it feels really right. Actually, it's really like the thing.
Yeah, and whenever you and me sit together, like talk or meditate or anything, the same thing happens with us. With the energy slowly goes upward. Like we have some kind of weird thing that is really like. Yeah, I've known a lot of people, but I haven't experienced that synergy that I have with you with anyone else. So I can only imagine if we have like a retreat where we're trying to share our energy. Well, that's going to happen at some point. It's going to reach like we're going to be like we're going to get high. Everyone's going to get high at some point because of so
They
much
get high
energy. You know?
together. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
high, but not
Natural high.
high, and within yourself high, if that makes sense. Like a deeper understanding of self high, you could say.
Yeah,
Um,
because you come alive.
yeah. Wow. So astrology, that's the thing right now. Astrology and
Yeah.
spirituality. How we like share the link here. What's going on there?
I'm reminded of the metaphor, um, a Buddhist metaphor that says that if you have to cross a river, then you need a boat, and you and as you cross the river, the boat helps you cross the river without drowning. But if after you've crossed the river, you've become so addicted to the boat, that you keep trying to drag it after you while you're on land, then the boat becomes a hindrance for you. It becomes a great weight on you. And the point is that the purpose of tools is to complete a certain task. But if you fall in love with the tool, it eventually becomes a burden on you. And that's when we look at astrology, and it's not just astrology, because there are a lot of teachings in this world which are based on predicting the future, like the I Ching and astrology, and if you look at the Hermetics and other wondrous works of the past, there are a lot of old sort of technology which professes to teach you about life and let you predict the future and navigate the world better. And I think that they have a dualistic side to them, which I think we should talk about, which is that they can help, but they can also harm if you cling to them too much. And taking astrology as an example, when I meet people who are very interested in astrology, it's clear that astrology have given them a kind of map of the world and a map of people, and they can say like, oh, your sign is this, so that means that your life mission is this, and you're trying to resolve this and that, and or this planet or this moon is in this place right now, so that's why you're experiencing this or that or whatever. Which can be very helpful, but nearly everyone I meet of these people also seem to be stuck in their mind, where the mind is full of astrological concepts, and they have difficulties perceiving the world without concepts, or themselves without concepts. So that the astrology has kind of like,
it's the truth that they see through. One could say,
yeah, it almost becomes a if you're navigating a territory, what you should do is you have a map in your hand and you know where you're going, and you consult the map. And then when you're done looking at the map, you should put down the map, and then you should look at the landscape, and then you should try to find the intersection between the representation of the map and the actual landscape, and hopefully they're sort of similar. And so you put the map away, and then you look at the landscape, and then you follow the landscape, and then you get to where you want to go. But some of these people seems like they have the map like this, and they can't put it down anymore. Now they think the map is the world, and they can't look at the world without through the map. They forget that it's a tool that they're supposed to consult and then put into practice somehow. And so it ends up being an obstacle between them and themselves, them and others, and them and the world, because they can't put down the tool.
I think it's pretty interesting to kind of open up about astrology in this way, and this kind of dualistic part of it. And I get the sense of what you're kind of pointing is that the importance of it's okay to have a tool. It's okay to have the kind of astrology as that tool, or other tools for that matter, other teachings. and at the same time, at some point, to let go of the tool and be with what is, to let go of needing the tool to see through. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I will say, if that's if there's space for that here, is that this tool of astrology, this tool of astrology is one of the oldest of humankind, of mankind. You know, it outdates every religion. It's perhaps like some call it the first religion. You know, and so it's so deeply uh, inherited or deeply kind of um, given from one generation, from one society, from one like kind of one generation to another over thousands and thousands of years. And so to let go of that tool is a big thing to kind of um, suggest or offer to people when, you know, maybe in this lifetime they've used that tool to see through, or that they've used that tool to explore the truth of history and present and future, um, and so very reliant on it, and somewhat in that, it's like maybe also in their past selves they've also used that and gone down from so many generations in history, and so um, what you're asking is a big thing, Torben. What you're kind of
Yeah.
pointing to is a you know, for some it would mean war. For some it would mean a battle. For some they wouldn't be willing to do that. And so my question is that
For a lot, it would mean, yeah. Sorry.
and honestly, I think this is a very interesting subject. Don't get me wrong; like I'm very intrigued in it, and the whole thing about like the astrological long time and how like for thousands of years, like each kind of star sign has like a period of time they're meant to rule, and then like right now we're going into the next kind of period of 2,000 years of the next kind of star sign. Um, to me that's fascinating, right? And at the same time, it's like
Mm.
my question for you, Tobin, is that you're pointing to the dualistic or the dualism in the tool of astrology and spirituality and the other, like letting go of the tool. And if somebody is willing to do that, and here's the question: like, why would they do that? Why would they let go of the tool, this tool, when it's used, when it's so effective? They've used it for, like, mankind uses for thousands of years. Why would you let go of the tool?
Because it's essentially only for people who are terrified of the universe.
Mm. And what are they terrified in the
Like,
universe?
why do you need to know what's going to happen? Why do you need to know? Why do you need to know all these things? And are you do you understand what you're giving up in needing to know these things? Because the ego is the ego loves knowledge and wisdom and power and all these things. So if the ego could, it would love to be able to predict the future. It would love to be able to understand the meaning behind everything and why everything happens. But have you considered what you're losing in doing so? The cost of being all knowing, the cost of having the cost of having such a tool. Is that really worth it? It's kind of like, the ego is a tool, right? It's a very, very, very advanced tool, but there is a cost to it. And what the what astrology and other teachings do is that they become a way for the ego to uh, keep you away from seeing yourself as you are and seeing other people as they are and seeing the world as it is. Because what astrologians say, which is true, is that you're here in a certain form, you have certain elements, and you have a certain destiny. And if you're a certain sign, you have something to resolve. Maybe you're here to be really yourself. Maybe you're here to teach the world something, or maybe you're here to experience something or whatever. And that's all connected to the body you have, which is influenced by the planets in the universe, because the body is physical and the universe is physical. So the body is influenced by all these great physical things, which is what the planets are. And that's why they have an effect on us. But you are not physical. You are not part of the planets or your body. You didn't come here to learn anything or experience anything or resolve anything. Your true nature is innately complete. You come here as a soul, and you will never realize that part of yourself through a filter of astrology or anything else, because that part of yourself is not something even the most clever tool in the world cannot help you get there. And the more clever the tool is, what we're talking about, artificial intelligence, every tool steals something away from you. You have to look at what it takes away from you. If artificial intelligence keeps developing the way it will, humans in 1,000 years may become extremely stupid because they have a tool to think for them. So every
Doesn't need to be
tool,
1,000 years. It could be in less than 100 years, right? Like,
yeah, every tool has a cost, and it has a benefit, and you have to look at the cost benefit of the tool. And astrology it can give you an explanation for life when you're struggling. It can even help you sort out some of your knots, your emotional and psychological knots. But at what point will you get tired of that, of knowing what's going to happen, of finding meaning in anything? At what point are you going to want to have a life that's alive, in which you don't know what's going to happen? You don't understand anything. All you have is the sheer amazement and wonder of it all. The absolute wonder of not knowing. That's the cost of the tool. Are you really willing to pay that price? If astrology does its job, then it'll integrate you somewhat. It'll give you some peace, some understanding. You'll grow a little bit in your ego body. Your ego will become a little bit wiser. Your body will become a little bit more spiritual. You'll find some of the stability you're looking for. You will have crossed the river with your boat. But once you reach a certain point, I hope you'll be ready to now you'll be ready to embrace life for the adventure it is, and you'll be ready to embrace not knowing, ready to see what the adventure is going to be, ready to experience it without all this requirement for meaning and knowing and predicting and understanding and conceptualizing. Because ultimately what the tool takes from you is your ability to be alive. You can't be alive when you have all these ideas. But the cost of the tool is it takes away the wonder of it all. That's the cost of knowledge. You can't wonder if you have knowledge.
yeah, it almost steals the soul, or steals the hope. You know, it can at least.
Children don't know anything about astrology, and they find the world to be magical, right?
That they do. They are very close to the source, close to the no mind.
Yeah. But what do you think, Jonathan? What do you think about all this from every angle of the for and against?
I think it's important to ask questions about it. Ask the right questions, or good questions, you could say. And I guess one question I would have, maybe not for you and I right now, but maybe just in general for people listening, would be to, like, when you look around in society, when we observe our surroundings, what do we see that reflects people who, um, yeah, what do we see? And in that, like, I think it's an important thing to kind of consider with this, right? With this tool, because part of the tool in knowing the truth, um, has also been something that has helped humanity survive through different certain events in history, cataclysms, um, wars, kind of, you name it. Like, we are a species that has survived so much, and astrology has played a huge role in that. And so I think it's important to consider within this tool, actually, that the power of the truth. And yes, it's like it's part of the ego, right? Um, it's a part of a certain kind of knowing, a certain kind of seeing, and it's something. If you look around society, it's like not a lot of people are awake these days, either spiritually or astrologically, or kind of. And it's like this tool, like, artificial intelligence, for example, is such a incredibly um, fast paced thing that's happening within our society, that it's almost kind of covering, like, what is actually happening under the surface of it, and how reliant we are on technology, and what that is doing to our psyche, what is it doing to our socially, like, um, and so, to come back to the point of, like, the astrological kind of perspective, it's like I see that astrology for some people is a way of, is a spiritual way of for them seeing, for them kind of being awake, and so I think it can serve people, it can serve humanity in our survival for what's coming, um, and at the same time, it is a tool, and what's beyond the tool, right? What's beyond the tool, and that's where I see where you're pointing to, and I see how stuck people can get in that, and see through that lens, and experience nothing but fear, and that can steal so much from being alive in this moment, and the joy or the wonder in the life that we are living right now. Even if you do follow an astrological thing, and you do know the truth, and you do know what's coming and everything like this, I think that's that's a huge weight to bear, and that can that can be extremely painful, right? And when we get stuck in this tool, it can also weigh us down, And so it's important to be mindful and careful how we use the tool, and how we can also at times be okay with letting go, and learn, and not even learn, but just come back to yourself, come back to the real true you, the authentic self, and um, and let go of the tool at times, to be in this moment, to be here and now, to be self, to be in this life we are living in, and just and find the joy and experience the love and connection, and these things for what it is to be alive. So I'm not sure if I really answered any question there, but I kind of gave some different points on.
That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, no. Yeah,
it's about what comes up.
yeah, exactly. So I think I honestly think it's fascinating, astrology. I really do. Um, and I think what's more fascinating than astrology is knowing thyself, like sensing what, like you can predict the future, but you can also sense what's coming. You can, if you're attuned, you can kind of like, you can get a feeling or a sensation of where we are with where we're going. So I think that's also, um, we talk about like being plugged in, right? When you're plugged in, you kind of, there's a certain knowing in that as well. And some people receive that
Yeah.
in visions. Some people receive it in messages, in signs, in some people, use things like the Akashic record to kind of explore that like kind of like super consciousness, or mental plane, people call it. I mean, there's different ways into that, right? So yeah. Have you heard of the Akashic record before? Have you heard of that?
Of the what now?
It's called the Akashic records.
I don't think so.
Okay, it's there's two guys in the late 1900s kind of coined the term the Akashic record, but basically it was like one guy called Edgar Case, and he was a clairvoyant guy, and he had this kind of power of, well, it's power. I don't know if it's a power, but he had a way of channeling, of connecting to something greater than the spirit world, you could say, or the different realms, and he could basically, he was so advanced with this, he could meet people and know their past lives, their future, like basically like a guru of some sort, right? Um, and he talked about this, that he was accessing what he called an Akashic records, or like this mental plane, where it's basically, he talks about it as like, it's kind of like a library, but not a library as books, but it's a library where every like kind of emotion, thought, soul, um, thing on this planet and other planets are like kind of stored, and so you can access that basically, and that's like past, present, future kind of thing. Um, how true, I'm not sure, right? But that's what he claims, and I've actually met people. I've had the privilege of meeting two people in my life who have claimed that they have access to that Akashic record, or records, you could say. Yeah. What's your intuitive feeling about
Yeah,
that?
I've met people that have visions and have told me their visions about me, and they say things that people that don't know me and don't know anyone that know me, they say things that are as if it was taken out of my own mind. So I know for a fact that that there are people who can see things that are not, present. It's possible for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think such powers are particularly interesting. In fact, I think it would be best to avoid them if possible.
Yeah.
And I've always asked the universe not to give me any special powers. And the few special powers I have uh, were very inhibitive for me for many years because I wanted to use them. I wanted to have them be part of my ego, and that's why in most spiritual traditions that I follow, spiritual powers are generally advised to stay away from because what does the ego love more than being special? It's very hard to get out of it again, and it sort of connects to the whole astrology thing because you like if you're really good at telling the future or giving people meaningfulness, then that also very easily becomes part of your identity, and then you cling to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's it is a it is a great freedom to be an idiot that doesn't know anyone and can't help anyone with anything. That's a freedom you should reserve for yourself. Um, and then if you need to help someone, that's the best place to come from anyway, right?
It's like,
Because even if you know the future, even if you have wondrous doctrines, for example, let's say you came to me and let's say I could see the future and you asked me about whether you should do this thing or that thing. And because I knew the future, maybe I'll give you a certain advice. But is that the right advice just because I know what's going to happen? Like, if you come to me and ask, how am I going to get rich? And I can tell you how to get rich. Does that mean that the best thing to happen for you is to get that knowledge and become rich?
not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No.
Maybe my intuition tells me this person is not meant to have this knowledge, but because I have this power, my ego says, ooh, I want to flex and show what I can do because I'm so
Mm.
amazing. And other people will be like, wow, he was right all along. And because of that, for my own selfishness, I use my power when the greater understanding in me knows that it's not its place. And even
And that
without special powers, it's difficult for us not to
show off
not to
or,
push. Yeah, it's hard for us not to force things that is not appropriate for the time, right? It's
yeah.
hard for us not to do it.
And it's that's so important what you're saying here because not everyone is ready in that moment to receive whatever that is. And the more we are in our ego and we want to show off, we want to show that
Yeah,
thing or push that tool or the skill or whatever it is, or prove that we can do that, right? That we can help or we can whatever it is. Um,
that's the therapy's paradox. That's the therapist's paradox, right?
yeah, yeah.
The better a therapist you are, the better you have to be at not flexing your skills at the wrong time, right?
Exactly, and and the way to do that I've experienced and how I've see this in other people who are much further in their path with this stuff is to listen to your intuition. Like you can use any tool in the world, right? In that session or in that with that person. Um, but at the end of the day, in that moment, your intuition will know yourself will know what what is meant to be shared, or what is meant to be given, and what is not, what is like the ego trying to push that right onto the person, and the intuition will know if
Yeah,
they're ready, if the other person's ready to receive that or not. And so that's really quite key in strengthening and in listening to, I guess you could say, when you are. when a part of you is wanting to kind of show that off, or whatever it is. So yeah.
And when you have a hammer in your hand, you want to hit every nail you see, right? So if you're you're a really skilled astrologist, you want to tell everyone about everything all the time, right? Because you have the hammer, you want to use it. It's a very natural thing. Like, that's the problem with the hammer. That the whole world isn't a nail, you know? It just looks that way when you're holding the hammer.
It does. It does. Yeah. So how would you use astrology in a how would you do that? You know, knowing that it's the tool, it's the boat to get over the river to get to a certain place, right? How would you use that?
I think the way a good doctor uses
work?
it.
Yeah.
I think the way a good doctor uses medicine is you give medicine to people who are sick. You don't give it to healthy people. And what I mean by that is that for a lot of people, astrology is not really a tool meant to necessarily predict or master life. If we look at the core motivation for why they learned astrology, it's because they can't tolerate meaninglessness. Life has been difficult for them, and life as it is very chaotic. And it is intolerable for most people to think that all this pain and suffering happens for no reason. And so what astrology really does, it tells you, well, there's a reason for all of it. It's kind of like personal development. It tells you that you're going somewhere, you're changing, whatever. So I think that when people are hopeless, it can be good to give them hopefulness. Just like when people are sick, it can be good to give them medicine. But what's wrong with Western medicine is that you give people medicine that will make them require more medicine, and they'll never get better. They'll just keep needing medicine. And I think the way you should give medicine is you should give medicine until people are healthy again, and you should stop giving them medicine. So if someone is hopeless and they go to an astrologist or they take up astrology and it gives them a purpose and it explains them what to do, then that's obviously better than being hopeless. But once they get on their path and they feel like they're ready for the next adventure, that they should put down the astrology and they should see where life takes them without knowing anything. Because the hopefulness was medicine for their hopelessness. Hopelessness is bad, and compared to hopelessness, hopefulness is certainly better. But hopefulness is still a disease. You're still not really well as long as you're hopeful. You're still a hopeless person is afraid nothing will get better. A hopeful person is still thinking about things getting better. It's future focused.
The flip side is that they fear.
So,
like, if you're really hopeful for something, you're also fearing that that's not going to be there, right? Like, that's
the moment you reach
paradox
the apex of hopefulness, you'll start to, yeah. It's because hopefulness and hopelessness, fear and hope is the same coin, right? You can never get rid of one side. But you can get rid of them both together. If you get rid of hope, you get rid of fear. If you get rid of fear, you get rid of hope. Then you're free of both fear and hope. You're not concerned with the future.
For a lot of people, this is actually a problem. That's what I've experienced. I actually stopped. I stopped sharing this when you're sharing now because for most people, it's too disrupting. I think.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah.
and this is this other thing if you're not ready for that, right? And you might think like, what am I not ready for in that? It's like, but part of yourself won't be ready for that, because part of yourself would have seen hope in all your life as something that is good, as something um, that is a positive thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, and then here we are talking about it in another way, right? Um, and what
And
I've personally experienced is when you get rid of hope and you get rid of fear, you get to be as well. You get to be free to be in here and now and be present to what is. And that's what's going on. That's life in this moment. That's where we are right now. And that's where the current of the universe or the energy of life stems from. The the blossom of a flower, or the locus of a, I don't know what, the water plant, right? Like it's like that's the heart and the essence of everything. And as much as we cling on to tools and things, we lose sight of this essence, this center that we all uh, can experience and can be in when we let go. And in that space of center, in that space of letting go, is also the space of healing, the space of the nervous system, like being whole, and the other stuff kind of shedding away, so that your body can process the things, it can heal in its own way. And that can only happen when we let go of these different parts of ourselves, or we at least give it compassion, so that we can allow our like system to do what it needs to do, to process emotion, to process thoughts, to be with what that is, and to slow down. And that's you know, when you seek tools, when you seek astrology, when you seek these things, like, what are you really seeking? You're seeking like something external, and this other thing is also always inside you. And so what I would say is like, look within yourself and slow down to notice and to allow your system to process, to heal, to do what it needs to do. And when you are more in that place, you will need the tools less and less, and you will listen to your intuitive kind of soul or intuitive self more and more, and be more closer to the heart or the essence of life and the spirit and all the good stuff, you could say. And that's my message to share today. Coming straight from the spirit world. I don't know whether it's just boom. What's your contemplative kind of look on your face here, Torben? What are you kind of sitting with? What do you notice?
I'm hoping that our listeners are also feeling the energy that I'm feeling and that you're feeling, which is the spiritual energy and the energy of healing and the energy of wholeness that you're talking about, because it's present here now. We somehow, maybe it's you, really, I don't know if it's me, but somehow it's channeled into the moment when you and I talk.
Yeah, I really sensed that just now. Like when I was talking just then, it was like this thing was just like flowing
You were
through.
talking directly from the source. That was very, very obvious for me.
Yeah.
And that's you can't get this with tools, right? That's the cost of the tools. It's not the primordial energy.
And this is what we want to share with you in person, in real life. We want to
Yeah.
gift this kind of to our community or to people that are ready to receive this, because it is something that takes. I don't even know what do you call it, but it takes time, or it takes kind of like a certain. How would you describe that, Tobin? Like I feel like I don't want to use the word practice here, but you could call it something.
Yeah, I'm a little at a loss for words right now.
That's exactly where we're meant to be. Then that's fine. Maybe it's a good moment
That's
to do a wrap then for today, and like to say like,
yeah.
fucking really great to be back here, Tobin, with you, and really
Yeah.
beautifully kind of
The
like
boys are back.
alive to be in this presence and to be sharing this and to be in this energy of this spiritual energy and just kind of surrender to what's happening in this moment. And the beautiful thing I think in this is that I had no idea what would come in this conversation today. Like I did in a sense, and I didn't, and that's the pure joy in letting go and not knowing, the wonder in like what will come, what will we experience when we let go and surrender. And I hope is a hope thing, but I hope that people listening here today kind of felt that energy and experienced that within themselves, and something kind of shifted within them, or they kind of received what we were sharing today, even if it's in a felt sense. Or so I just invite you just to notice your body now and notice like yourself, or notice kind of what's going on in your energy, and feel into whatever you feel in this moment, whatever wholeness you have, or whatever parts of you or ego is kind of loud or there, or whatever it is going on. Really invite you just to kind of be with what is. Anything you want to say to kind of wrap up the your final kind of last words, Torben?
I feel like saying thank you.
Very much. Likewise, Torben.
May all beings get their shit together.
May you find the path, and that we see you on the trail. And if you wanna reach out to any of us, you are more than welcome. So just kind of just do that if you feel the energy is there, and yeah, we'd be happy to receive you. And we're going to release some dates for workshops and retreats coming soon. So keep posted for that. Yeah. And wherever you
And
are,
we'll see you on the trail.
we'll see you on the trail.